The world's most expensive city and the world's most high-priced city for foreigners have a clear frontrunner. The Economist Intelligence Unit's Global Livability Report, which analyzes the excellent places to live in the world by analyzing 140 cities in 5 categories: stability, healthcare, culture and environment, education, and infrastructure, has just published its conclusions. COVID-19 has made a considerable difference in this year's rating compared to previous years. This year's ranking looks very different from previous years, owing in large part to COVID-19. The report considered how different cities dealt with the pandemic. Strong border closures, ability to handle the health crisis, and the speed with which vaccination campaigns were implemented. As a result, previous frontrunners in Canada have dropped completely out of the top 10, while rule followers in Australia and New Zealand profile for more than half of the top 10. Before you even look, be aware that there are no cities in the United States that made the cut this time. There will always be next year. Let's talk about the top 10 best places to live in the world. Brisbane, Australia. Earlier in the pandemic, the nations of Oceania imposed serious travel limitations, effectively banning most tourists from entering the area. As a result, citizens were eligible to resume normal living in late 2020, far ahead of the rest of the world. Australia has 4 cities in the top 10 this year, making it the most populous country on the list. Brisbane, a sunny riverfront city with nearly 300 cloud-free days each year, is at the top of the list. Aside from the pleasant climate, Brisbane received a flawless score of 100 in both the education and healthcare groups, making it a simple choice for one of the best places to live in the world. Zurich. Switzerland's largest city and economic hub is just ahead of Geneva. At first glance, Zurich may appear one-dimensional, with a reputation for being hyper-efficient and severe. True, you'll find spotless streets and trains that run on time, but the city is full of surprises. During the summer, residents can be found swimming in the Limette River, playing volleyball in the parks, and riding their bikes to get a scoop of gelato. Zurich is also a haven for young creatives, so there are plenty of art galleries and fantastic restaurants along both banks. Tokyo, Japan. Japan took the lead in preventing the spread of the coronavirus, implementing stay-at-home orders and border closures far ahead of most other countries. This, combined with an excellent healthcare system, explains why the country has 2 cities on this year's list that are highly ranked. Tokyo took a cultural hit in 2020, with postponed Summer Olympics being the most obvious example. But it still managed to move up 3 spots from last year. Tokyo continues to set the standard for infrastructure, and experts predict that the city will become even more incredible in the second half of 2021 and beyond. Infrastructure aside, we'd be lucky to live in Tokyo for dining alone. The Japanese capital has the most Michelin stars of any city on the planet and is, undoubtedly, one of the world's best food destinations. Wellington, New Zealand. Similar to Australia, strict border shutdowns in New Zealand kept the case count low throughout the pandemic, ensuring that cultural attractions and restaurants were not closed for long. Students were also able to continue attending school, giving cities such as Wellington perfect education scores. Even if you don't have children, the capital city is a fun, quirky place to live, ideal for art enthusiasts and foodies alike. The city is located on the southern tip of New Zealand's vastly underrated North Island, flanked on one side by hills and on the other by a harbor that leads directly to the South Island. And what about all the stories you've heard about Kiwis being notoriously friendly? Everything is true. Melbourne, Australia. Despite falling from 2nd to 8th place this year, Melbourne remains one of the most livable cities in Australia and the world. The city was number 1 for 7 years in a row before falling a spot 2 years ago. The city embodies all of Australia's best personality traits: sophisticated, stylish, and free-spirited, and continues to draw visitors with its world-class art and renowned coffee and cuisine. Geneva, Switzerland. Despite some social restrictions, Switzerland takes 2 spots on this year's list, making it the only 2 European cities to make the cut. Despite being one of the world's most expensive cities, Geneva proves its quality of living with a perfect healthcare score and high numbers for stability and infrastructure. There's no denying the city's natural beauty. It has expansive views of the Alps and Jura Mountains, as well as Lake Geneva. We can see why people want to move here with such a beautiful daily commute. Osaka, Japan. Japan's third largest city after Tokyo and Yokohama is frequently overshadowed by the country's capital. But there are lots of reasons why it has become an attraction in its own position. Osaka is one of the best food towns in Japan, with must-try regional specialties such as takoyaki, fried octopus balls, grilled savory pancakes with a variety of additions. We also enjoy the city's baseball culture and the stunning Osaka Castle. Perth, Australia. Perth is generally referred to as the world's most isolated city, but don't dismiss it just yet. While the Australian metropolis is still improving in terms of culture and the environment, it certainly compensates for such weaknesses in terms of healthcare, education, and infrastructure. And if The Economist had included a section on beaches, we bet Perth would have scored flawlessly. There as well, just look at Cottesloe Beach for proof. There are also relatively fresh cuisine and art cultures here, which make the remote city a pleasant place to live. Number 1. Auckland, New Zealand. That's correct, Auckland has been named the best place to live in 2022. While the city is frequently regarded as little more than a transit stop en route to Queenstown, a swarm of new urban renewal plans is driving us all to consider relocating permanently. Once neglected sections of the city's waterfront are being renovated, with green spaces and notable shopping destinations. Even before all of these developments, Auckland had a reputation for being an attractive destination for expats. In fact, 40% of its population was born outside. Aside from great areas to hike, sail, and surf, the city offers a special food scene to match its international population.